Hi everyone, Savannah here, and in today's video we're sketching a beautiful vase of tulips. I'm using my custom brushes for this one, which you can download for free in the description down below. I also have the color palette and the template used in this video if you want to follow along. Let's jump in and start sketching. The first thing we are going to do is change that background color, so go into layers, select background color, and scroll up in the color palettes until you find the tulip color palette and that dark bluish green color. We're going to use that as our background color. Now add a new layer, bring it below the outline template layer that I provided, and we're going to work on the vase. I'm going to grab this very dark color. I'm going to grab that circle brush, and we're going to start outlining and filling in the shape of this vase. And I usually turn the outline layer or the template I provide off at this point so I can see how the shape is looking. I can tweak it at this point, make sure it's looking a little bit more symmetrical. Right now it's not as symmetrical as I would like. So I'll start filling in the color and fixing the shape as I fill in the color, but it's easier to do that when you don't have that outline turned on. And then once you have the shape, we're going to alpha lock that layer. So go into layers, click on that layer that we want to alpha lock, and then it'll pop up that menu. We're going to grab that medium blue color, that circle blend brush, and we're going to add some lighter color to the bright side because that's where the light is coming from. And then we're going to grab this lighter white-ish blue color and add some more highlights just a little bit. We don't have to go over the whole face with this, but we're going to add it mostly to the right. And then we're going to blend these colors in by using those three colors. We can also pull in colors from the blended in between colors. So to do that, you just hold your finger down on the color you want and it will pick it up in the color picker for you. But we're just going to keep blending these colors together to make it look a little bit more like a smooth surface of the vase. And now that we have the general areas shaded in, I'm going to add some of the shadow here underneath where the lip of the vase is going to go, and then we'll work on blending all of this out. And then I'm going to erase this top part here because that's where the lip's going to go. I'm going to create that on a new layer, but we don't need this section here. That's just going to make it look a little more messy, so we'll just erase that. So go ahead and create a new layer above that face that we just did, and we're going to work on the lip. I'm going to grab this medium blue, the lighter blue color, the circle brush, and I'm going to add that shape in, and then we'll add some highlights and lowlights to this as well. And then once we have that shape, we do want to make sure we alpha lock so that any coloring that you're going to do, any highlights, any shadows, is not going to go outside of the shape that we just created. Make sure you grab that circle blend brush. It's just going to make it blend so much more nicely. And then we can add some shadows and highlights to this area as well. And now I am happy with how the vase looks, so we're going to add a new layer and work on the leaves. We're actually going to put them on a couple different layers because there's some that are in the front, there's some that are towards the back, so it'll be easier when we blend. So grab one of those green colors, grab that circle brush, and then when you are doing the layers for the leaves, make sure it's tucked behind the vase because we want those stems to be going down into the vase. So I'm going to add a few spots here. I'm picking shapes that are not overlapping each other and filling in those colors because again, if you're picking colors that are or shapes that are overlapping, it'll be a little bit more challenging to do these shadow layers. And so we want to kind of group them strategically here. So we're going to add several different layers here and just group the leaves together based on where they are perception wise, if they're closer to you further back, and also how close they are to each other. And one thing that I do like to do from time to time is use different colors of the green. So it's not going to be that green necessarily. We are going to add highlights and shadows. But as you're building these layers, it's nice to do the different shades so you know which layer you're currently working on, how it looks compared to the layers below it or above it. So that's why I kind of picked the different greens here. Again, it's not what it's going to look like in the end, but it's helpful to see what what stems or what leaves we want to do so they're not overlapping. And now once we have those stems filled in, we're going to start color blocking these tulips in. So we're going to do these on a new layer. We're going to start with this purple one here, and we're just going to trace and fill in that color. I'm going to do the tulips on separate layers as well, because again, there's some that kind of overlap each other, and it's just going to be easier when we go to color if they are overlapping. And so what I'll do is I'll add the purples to the same layer. I'll add the other colors to the same layer so that they're all on that same layer, but they're separated so there's no overlapping. And then I'm going to create that new layer for the next tulip. I'm going to do the orangish color for this tulip. I'm actually going to put below the purple. So the purples are kind of at the front of all these other tulips. So you can put those other layers behind them. And so that's what I did, is just put this orange layer behind the purple. And then for this pink one, I actually put it above the orange layer because this pink one is in front of the other orange. But same thing, we're going to outline and fill in this the two tulips here as well. And once those are all filled in, we're going to alpha lock all of these layers because we are going to work on adding details to the tulips and the stems. So go ahead and alpha lock all the tulip layers, all of the stem and leaf layers, and we're going to start with the stem and leaves first before we jump into the tulips. So we're going to start with this darker green color. We're going to grab that circle blend brush, and we're going to start now adding in the shadows and the midtones and the highlights for these leaves and the stems, and really start to bring them to life. And as we're filling in these colors, we're just keeping in mind where that light source is. So the light's kind of coming up from above up to the right. And so I'm making it a little bit lighter on some of these leaves, but then also because they're layered, some of them won't be as bright as the ones towards the front because they'll be in the shadows of the ones in the front. So we're just kind of being mindful of where these shadows are going to go and where these highlights are going to go. And now that we have the stems and leaves complete, we're going to work on the tulips. So I'm going to start with the pink tulips. We're going to add some highlights. We're going to add some shadows to these and start building these out further. You can turn the outline layer back on so you can kind of see the general shape of the tulip here, or you can keep it off and just go off of, your memory of what a tulip looks like. But we're going to start adding in some color depth to these tulips now. And if you need to pull in more deeper tones or brighter tones, don't be afraid to go to a different color on the disc. You can click into one of the colors that are in the color palette and then go to the disc and grab something that's in that same color palette, or you could grab something completely different. You can do these tulips in any shades that you want. I'm just sticking with the color palette and then adding some darker tones from the color wheel, but again, you can go with any color that you want for these tulips. And sometimes when I fill in these shapes or fill in shapes in general, I'll sometimes just lay bigger colors down and then blend it out. So for instance, on these purple tulips, I'm going to add the larger sections of the color and blend it out. That way I can visually see where I want that color. Does that look like enough color? Do I need to add more? Do I need to do less? So it just kind of helps blocking the main colors and then blending out once you have those blocked. And now we will work on the orange tulips. So we'll use the orange colors. We have this orange, this mid-tone orange, this light orange, and we'll just do the same thing that we did with the others, where we add in the shadows and the highlights to these tulips. And now most of these tulips are filled in, so we can go back through and touch up any areas that we want to lighten or darken before we move on to the final touches for this piece. And now with the tulips complete, we can work on the other areas of this picture to bring it more to life. I added some letters to this image. You can, if you want, you can skip this part if you don't want to include those, but we're going to use this light grayish whitish color, and we're going to use that circle brush, and we're going to trace and fill in the letters first, and then we'll add some details, add some shadows, add the background, and complete this picture here shortly. And I did create 2 layers for these. I put the letter on the left as the top layer, so it's the one that's going to be showing all of it, and then the other one's underneath of it, just so that we can add details without interfering with each other. And now that these letters are filled in, we're going to do an alpha lock on them so that we can add the details. We're going to add some writing. It's not coherent writing, it's just scribble writing. You can add coherent writing if you want to add a little touch to it, but I just did kind of just random writing here. I'm going to grab this grayish color here. It's grayish yellow green is what they call it. And we're going to add in the shadow. And we will put this on a new layer above the letter layers. And we will eventually do a blend mode on this shadow layer. So there's a couple different options you can pick from here, but we're going to first do a Gaussian blur on the shadow layer, blur it out. So that's under adjustments, click Gaussian blur, blur it out. And then we will turn this layer off, add a little bit of detail to the letters using that dark gray color. And then we can pick what mode we want for the shadow. And I'm just scribbling some lines here. You don't have to be perfect with this, just make it look like, a handwritten letter. Or if you want to actually write something there, you can definitely do that as well. And now we're going to do a new layer, bring it below the letters, and we're going to add some detail to the ground here. So we're grabbing that grayish blue color, the square blend brush, and we're going to add some depth and interest to where these letters in this face are sitting. And now let's go ahead and add a background behind the vase here. So add a new layer, bring it below the, I guess, table that these tulips and letters are resting on. Using that same color we used for the table, we're going to add some vertical lines here. Now, I'm trying to kind of mimic curtains behind the tulips here, so I'm kind of leaving some of that dark space in between. I will go over this with that dark color again, but I kind of want to have the little pockets of where that's, darker, and you have the curtain kind of coming closer, it'd be a little bit lighter. So that's what we're kind of doing here with this. So kind of light presses, not to press too hard. In some areas you can, to give it that curtain effect, but we'll just kind of go over this with those 2 colors. So that background color we had originally with this lighter color until we get the look that we're going for. And because we did do the same color, I'm going to lighten up the table area a little bit more. So I grabbed the lightest color in that row and just added that on top of the table that we worked on. And now the last thing we need to do is just change that blend mode for the shadow. You can also bring the opacity down. You could use any of the blend modes here for this. And then now that you have that complete, we are done with our tulip image. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you love how these tulips turned out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you think. Everything you need to follow along is linked in the description down below. But until next time, happy sketching!